What is going on, everybody? Grady here for another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at this. This is the Citizen H145 Elegance, a proper titanium Citizen everyday watch that I think you should be considering in your collection. So let's not waste any more time and jump right into it. As always, let's take a look at some dimensions. First things first, you are going to find is a 40 millimeter case diameter, a case thickness of 10 millimeters, a lug-to-lug length of 48 millimeters, a lug width of 20 millimeters, then being solid end lengths, it is a tapering bracelet from 20 millimeters all the way down to 18, which is where you're going to find the signed Citizen clasp, which is pressed with a pressed deployant. And you see here it is a press-on case back. Looking to the side, you are going to see it is a 5 millimeter push-pull crown, and the dial itself is covered in sapphire with no anti-reflective coating. Something I did kind of touch on a little bit in the fact that, as you can see here on the dial, you'll see titanium. Citizen is world-renowned for their abilities to work with titanium. The level of finishing on this watch is quite impressive, being you have here chamfered edges, a polished center link on the bracelet, as well as, if you look here, a chamfer on the bottom. And if anyone knows anything about titanium, it's a very tricky metal to work with. It's very brittle, and so Citizen's ability to bring this level of finishing to the watch with the brush and polish and such smooth transitions to it. You can also see a little, one of my favorites, the high polish right down there in the inside. They do an amazing job. But looking at the rest of the watch, why I've really touched on this being such a great affordable watch and a great everyday watch is its movement. This is an eco drive movement that is radio controlled with their atomic time, so you never have to worry about setting the watch. It's just wherever you go, it's going to run off of that atomic clock, which is where you're going to see the world time, the little cities you'll see on the inside of that bezel in black. Being able to set that, it's just simply by pulling the crown and then twisting it here to adjust the city that you're in, which is very, very cool, which I've always enjoyed that. But taking a little bit of a closer look at the dial itself, you're going to see a few different things. One is in these vertical lines, there's going to be a slight transition between the blue here, and then it kind of fades to a darker blue. That's where the actual solar panel for this watch lives. This watch being in blue does kind of emphasize where it is, because they do make this watch in black and it looks completely invisible, just a black dial. But the blue actually gives a little bit of transition to it. It can feel almost black in some lighting, but it does utilize that almost sunburst effect. You can kind of see that lightly here against these high polish stick indices, which, if I can get a close up here, is one of my favorite parts about it. The sword hands, the stick indices, and the framed date window allow this watch to very much play with the light and create a super premium experience. I just wish it had something like the anti-reflective coating, because yes, in a few studio settings it might look really nice, but it can have some legibility issues when you are wearing it outside. But taking a quick look on the sizing of the watch, like I mentioned, it is a 40 millimeter watch with a 48 lug to lug, so it's going to be something that for my 7¼ inch wrist you're going to find fits quite nicely. Being only 10 millimeters thick and super lightweight with the titanium, it does fit very well, as you can see here. Very comfortable, very easy to use, easy to wear, and ultimately, being so lightweight, it almost disappears. Doesn't mean it's a perfect watch, though, although I truly believe that having an everyday watch is very important in the watch world. I think it just utilizes a nice, simple design that's not too crowded. It's not too busy. It has solid water resistance. It's just something about this watch looking at things like the bracelet itself. If you look here, the watch can't go any further down with the male end links, which I know sounds bizarre, but if you have a larger wrist, you might not be able to allow the watch to sort of flex around your wrist in a way that might cause that interference and make the bracelet look a little out of place, which I know can be addressed with things like female end links, which is something I would like to see in these Citizen watches. Also, too, considering this watch's price point being around $600, the pressed clasp, I don't necessarily mind this section of it, but the deployment itself being pressed, I've really found that to be quite a underwhelming part of the watch. Although, yes, I recognize that you're not going to see it right here while you're wearing it. When you undo it, although this feels solid, this is a nice looking small clasp. Seeing the dark gray titanium just pressed, I really do wish they made something milled nice and thin. I know that this does allow for the watch to have a very thin profile, which I do appreciate, but definitely something I'd like to see a little bit. Also, too, this watch not having a signed crown, and the crown is so small that I can barely get it open. And I know some of you are just going to say, well, you just need fingernails to do it. And I understand that I may not, but I wouldn't mind having something like a screw down crown just because it's a little bit easier for me to actually get it undone to remove it. Some of you that might have this watch might not experience that, but that is a problem that I run into. But if I really could say anything about this watch that just needs to be addressed immediately is the glass. The fact that it's sapphire is very nice, very scratch resistant, very high quality. You know, it's definitely, looking through it, it is a very clear piece of sapphire. However, until you run some light into it and everything just disappears, it does take away from the watch feeling special. You know, I think about things like the Tissot Gentleman, which does have a bit of AR coating there on the sapphire. It just creates a little, and you look at the PRX, if you're looking at the base PRX, you know, in quartz, just something that does it for me personally is when you're rolling the watch back and forth, you're wearing it outside, and as you can see here, it just, the light completely strips away any of the detail, because the detail on this watch is remarkable. These beautiful sword hands, the ProMaster logo here, it's just super impressive. It's very well done, but it's just not something that I found particularly excelling in, and that just really gets me. The sizing is great. The weight, I've really come to like titanium watches from Citizen because of how lightweight they are. The atomic time is amazing. I love being able to just wake up in the morning, put on the watch, being solar powered, never have to worry about changing a battery, and you never have to worry about it being inaccurate. And that is something that if you just need one watch that can really do it all, if you just addressed things like the sapphire, I would really say this is one of the best watches out there. But let's go back to the video and wrap this up. Alrighty, well, that is an overview here of the Citizen Elegance. Thank you so much for checking out today's video. I hope each and every one of you have a great rest of your day, and hey, stay awesome.